Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the volume of cones video. So we're going to do a quick review over yesterday and look at the volume of a pyramid. Now remember, a pyramid is a three-dimensional figure that has one base, the flat part it sits on, and all of the lateral sides meet at the same vertex. And the volume formula is that the volume is equal to the area of the base times the height divided by 3. So in this example, the area of the base, right here we have a square, so the area of the base is 8 times 8. The height of the pyramid is 9, and then divided by 3, and that would give us a volume of 192 centimeters cubed. And remember, since this is our third dimension, its volume, our units will be cubed. Now, how does this relate to a cone? Let's look at this cone. We still have that top vertex. We still have a base, even though it's a circle right now. So it's essentially a circular pyramid. We just call it a cone. So the formulas basically match. The volume is still going to be the area of the base times the height divided by 3. However, since this is a circle and we want to make it a little bit easier for you, we'll write it out as pi r squared, because that's the area of the base, times the height, and divide by 3. So what this looks like in an example. I want to solve for the volume. I know it's the area of the base, which is pi r squared, times the height, divided by 3. I know that the radius is 3. I know that the height is 12, and we're going to divide by 3. If I asked you to leave it in terms of pi, this would give us 36 pi centimeters cubed. And if I ask for it rounded to the nearest hundredth, it would be 113.04 centimeters cubed. Remember, if I say leave it in terms of pi, you just do the math with the numbers and throw pi at the end. 3 squared times 12 divided by 3 would give you 36. And if I ask you to leave it in terms of the nearest tenth, you actually multiply the pi in, and that's where you get the 113.04 from. So doing another example, volume is equal to pi r squared times the height divided by 3. The radius in this case is equal to 2. The height of the cone is equal to 8. And divide by 3 would give us 10.67 pi, or again, if I ask you to round it to the nearest tenth, it would be 33.49, I apologize, nearest hundredth, inches cubed. So you might also have an oblique cone. So if you see right here, right, you would expect the height to go up right here and the vertex to be right here. Oblique is a fancy way of saying it's leaning, and you'll see this with cylinders as well. It's leaning. However, it's the same formula. The volume will still equal pi r squared times the height divided by 3. So right here, the radius is 1.5. The height is 4. Divide by 3. You would get 3 pi inches cubed, or again, if I asked you to round it to the nearest hundredth, you'd say 9.42. So make sure you're paying attention to what the question asks. Does it say leave it in terms of pi, or does it say round to the nearest hundredth? Do one last oblique cone example. Again, the volume is pi r squared, which is the area of the base, times the height of the cone, divide by 3. The radius here is 10. The height is 16. Divide by 3. If I asked you to leave it in terms of pi, that would be 533.3 pi. And if I asked you to round it to the nearest hundredth, that would be 1,674.67 centimeters cubed. And if you're pre-AP, you might be given the slant height instead of given the actual height. And if you recall, whenever you were solving for pyramids and you were given the slant height, you need to solve for the actual height before you can start, because the volume is equal to pi r squared height divided by 3. So to find the height, we're going to use Pythagorean theorem. We'll do 10 squared plus height squared equals 13 squared, because here is our right triangle. The 13 is our hypotenuse, so a squared plus b squared equals c squared. You would get h squared is equal to 69, and then you would square root 69. Give me one moment. And you would find out that h is equal to 8.3. Now, anytime we have to round, because the actual answer is 8.306623, just chop it off at the 10th place, round it to the nearest 10th. And now you come over here back to the volume formula. You have pi, you know your radius was 10, you now know your height is 8.3 divided by 3. You would get 276.67 pi, or if you had to round to the nearest hundredth, you would get 868.73 units cubed. And that is it for volume of cones. Remember, volume of cones comes from volume of pyramids, so they're basically the same formula. Let your teacher know if you have any questions.